get started, thank you all for being here. We're so happy to see your faces, even if it is over a screen. Um, Before we get started, I just wanted to review um, our agenda and some quick housekeeping with best practices for Zoom. So we brought everybody together today for our State of the Space meeting. We did one last year around the same time, just to kind of update you guys on how things have been going. And right now, things are very different than they were last year. So we've got lots of stuff to talk about. So we're going to start off. If you haven't already done so, please use the chat box to introduce yourself. I've put up the agenda. We're going to go by department to kind of give you some updates. And we'll start out with Will kind of giving us a state of the space address. And at the end, we will be able to take some time for questions and answers. If you have any questions that come up during the presentation, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll be monitoring that and bring them back up when it gets to Q&A time. So today we're going to hear from Will, Zach, Laura, Tirsa, Riggs, and myself. And we'll all be going over our different department updates. So some things before we get started. We're recording this session and we'll be posting it on the OpenWorks blog for anybody that wasn't able to make it and would like to be updated with the information. If you don't want yourself seen, you could turn off your video. I've muted everyone, so to eliminate some background noise and things like that. Anybody who's late that comes in, we don't want them to distract the conversation. When it comes time to talk at the end for Q&A, I will unmute everyone and we can share like that. But if you're not talking, ask for you to keep yourself muted. And you'll notice you can find sort of the tools for muting and turning your camera on and off on the toolbar at the bottom. That's also where you'll find the chat box as well. And then, let's see here. Yep, so the toolbar is going to be below. You can use that. And then finally, we're going to revisit all those questions at the end. So feel free to pop them in the chat. And we're going to get things kicking off right now with Will. He's going to take us through our State of the Space address. Will, I'm going to unmute you.
Great. Thanks so much, April. Can everyone hear me okay? First off, thanks, April, for putting this together, and thank you all for being here on your Saturday afternoon. I know there's a few less activities you can enjoy on a Saturday than before, but it is still time off. So I'm going to give a couple broad updates about the space and about our reopening plans and current activities. And then as April outlined in the agenda, the department heads are going to go into a little deeper detail in each. First and foremost, I want to assure everyone that OpenWorks is a viable, stable, and ongoing concern. This concern came up a lot in the member survey, worries about closure. And it's easy to understand with media reports and headlines showing a lot of small businesses under tremendous stress. We have been incredibly fortunate. We've been able to raise a lot of money. We've been able to access some of the Small Business Administration programs to pay our employees and our rent for a couple months. So I think we're going to be able to ride out this crisis and continue to serve you. However, going forward, there's going to have to be a lot of adjustments to the way we operate, and we'll get into those in more detail as we go forward. But the main thing I wanted to say about that is the protocols we are putting in place are for your safety, first and foremost. They are also for our staff's safety. None of the protocols we are putting in place are things that we just made up off the cuff. All of this is coming from CDC guidance and from detailed conversation with other makerspace operators in other states, as well as other co-working spaces here in Baltimore. We are asking for everyone's cooperation with these new protocols. The main one that everyone is going to have to observe at all times is wearing a mask. Tirsa and Riggs are going to walk us through other specifics, but that's the biggest one. And if you cannot or will not wear a mask, we're not going to be able to let you into the facility. The next biggest item that came up in the survey is a reopen date. Obviously, everyone is anxious to get back into the facility and start making again. However, we are still under a mandatory shelter-at-home order in Baltimore City. OpenWorks is not considered an essential business. We are classified the same as a gym in kind of the governor's reopening roadmap. What that means is we can reopen for limited essential manufacturing like the face shields we are making now, but we are not allowed to have any public facing activities until phase 2. Considering we are not even to phase 1 in the city, we cannot anticipate a hard reopen date at this time. We will be setting up another community Zoom call in about 2 weeks to update everyone again based on the latest and greatest governmental guidance. A very difficult thing for us to navigate is that the city, the state, and the federal government are all saying different things. So please be patient with us. We're doing our best to navigate the legal and financial kind of fallout from this crisis, just like every other small business and organization. We have submitted a detailed reopening plan to the OpenWorks Board of Directors. We had our second quarter board meeting yesterday. The Board of Directors approved the general framework, but we are going to have to answer a couple more questions, especially on the employment and personnel side, before we can roll that out publicly. We anticipate releasing our reopening plan around this time next week. It provides a kind of 3-phase roadmap that mirrors the governor's plan that starts with certain measures and then slowly loosens up until we're back to kind of operations as normal. So that's the main points I wanted to hit today. I think April kind of built this up like the State of the Union and put me on the spot, feeling a lot of pressure. But pretty nuts and bolts today, and I'm going to stick around as long as I can, as long as my toddler is still down for nap, to answer any questions. Thanks.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Will. Now Zach is going to give us an update on face shield stuff.
I manage the contract shop at OpenWorks. If you don't know, OpenWorks is making face shields, or we've retooled our shops to make face shields and currently have made around 23,000 of them, which has far exceeded our initial expectations for this project, but it has been a crazy road and very exciting. We are currently filling the largest order that we've had, which is 9,000 face shields for the USDA. We redesigned the existing piece to fit onto a hard hat that can like flip up and down, and these are going to go to the USDA inspectors that inspect our food across the country. We have basically delivered 3 different designs. There's a 3D printed version, there's an acrylic version, and there is a hard hat version for the USDA. Each of those designs have gone through a couple of rounds of testing and iteration and redesign to kind of improve the process, improve the fit, and improve like the manufacturability of them. Currently, we're averaging around 500 shields per day. We're hoping next week to hit around 650 per day. To do that, we're running 2 of the Laguna CNCs basically full time. And we're running 2 of the 100-watt lasers simultaneously also full-time. Next week, we're working on starting up the ShopBots and a couple of subcontractors to fulfill the 9,000 order in time. And we are planning to deliver our last large order of face shields on June 12th. That's when the contract with USDA is completed. And at that point, we're going to switch over to becoming the contract shop again. Our first kind of initial projects in that are going to be internal for OpenWorks, making sanitation stations and sneeze guards and anything else that kind of comes up that we find that we need. And then we'll be back to all of the other projects that were kind of on the dock. There's a lot of room and board stools out there, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, but there's a lot of other projects in the works that are coming up next. That's most of the contract shop or the Makers Unite production report kind of thing. And I think next up, we're going to talk a little bit about the protocol at OpenWorks for members when we reopen.
Great. Thank you, Zach. So Tirsa, we're going to hear from Tirsa now about our COVID protocol.
All right, can everyone hear me? Okay, cool. So hey everyone, good to see you. So right now, when we are able to reopen the building, we are asking for folks to wash their hands upon entering the building. Even if you're walking in with gloves, we are asking that you please wash your hands. We are requiring that you wear a mask throughout the building. We understand that, you know, sometimes it can get a little stuffy, but if you need to take a break, you would need to please walk outside to, you know, give yourself a break from wearing a mask all day. But we are asking that you wear a mask throughout the building as soon as you walk in. We will have reusable masks for sale at the front desk if you don't already have one. And let's see, everyone, including members, guests, you will be required to check in at the front desk. We are working on a method to streamline this process. But please check in at the front desk. Even if, you know, you have a guest and they're only staying for a moment, they still need to check in. Let's see, as of right now, all keys have been deactivated. So we will reactivate keys upon your return. And there are some other protocols that are going to happen with that, and we'll share that later on in the coming weeks. Let's see what else. We are, like Zach said, we are going to have some sanitation stations throughout the building for your convenience. And we are also going to have a UV station at the front desk so we can sanitize keys, pens, stuff like that. And of course, like wherever you go, like grocery stores, places like that, we are asking that you maintain physical distance of 6 feet throughout the building. And how that looks will come out in the coming weeks as well. We are also going to put together welcome back packages. One of those things will be something to open up doors with, so we're working on that as well. Next is going to be right back to April about membership updates. Thank you.
Here's all right, we are rolling through this today, guys. I think we're going to get done early. All right, so membership. We are going to be, so currently we have not been billing for membership since we've been closed, unless you have elected to kind of do a donation of paying your membership fees. And for those who have done that, we are really grateful for your generosity in helping us to keep things moving and for believing in us and supporting us in a financial way during these uncertain times. It is very, very appreciated. Once we reopen, we will be switching to a day pass model unless you have storage space with us or a micro studio space. Those are the only things that are going to be billed on the first of the month. And that's because for some time, we're probably going to have to limit the number of people in the space, and we don't think it's fair to make you pay for time that you won't be able to use. We have, during this whole process of organizing 3D printers for the making of face shields, we brought back our Slack channel, which we started in our beginning times, and it kind of fizzled out after a few, maybe some months, but it's become very active again, and I realized how great of a tool it is for communication between each other and for us to communicate with everyone. So I am going to drop a link in the chat here to a Slack invite. If you have not, if you're not already a member of our Slack channel, please accept the invite and join. It's a place where you can communicate with other members and then ask questions shop by shop, which I think will be very useful in the future when we're back in the space together and there are less people. It'll just be something that's kind of like always a way to be connected to each other. I also started a Facebook group for OpenWorks members. I will also drop a link to that in the chat. Please, if you're on Facebook, sign up. We haven't really done anything fun with it yet, but I'm looking to use that a lot more once we are kind of over this face shield stuff, and I can focus a little bit more attention on that. On June 12th, we are having a community happy hour. It'll be a Zoom happy hour to kind of commemorate the end of face shield making. We're inviting all the folks that have been 3D printing with us to come. So it'd be great to meet and see the faces of folks that have been doing amazing work to keep our community safe and protected. Some other opportunities that we have coming up. I know while you guys are at home, I've been doing lots of Zoom stuff and taking all kinds of classes. And we are talking with Hollaback Baltimore. We'll be sending out details about that. It's a sort of like anti-harassment training that they are going to do. We'll have a free session for all of our community members to be able to participate in that. It's really useful training that kind of navigates how to have difficult conversations, and we've got all kinds of different types of people from different backgrounds in the same space. I think it's wonderful if we can equip ourselves with tools to be better people in shared spaces, and that's exactly what this training does. Also, we've sent out some emails about this in the past, and would like to encourage our community at this time, since we have extra time on our hands. There's a Safe Zone training, which I will also drop a link to in the chat, that I encourage you guys to participate in. And if you do complete your Safe Zone training, it's free or pay what you can online. And if you print out your certificate at the end, or if you send the certificate to us, we can print it and laminate it for you. And then another opportunity of something fun to do online with the maker community, NomCon, which is the Nation of Makers, has an annual conference, and this year it has been moved online since obviously gatherings of large people are not allowed. And there's some really interesting topics in the lineup. I will also drop a link to that if anybody's interested in gathering with a bunch of makers from across the United States. And that is all I have for membership updates. Riggs, would you like to give us an update on shop stuff?
Am I unmuted? Can everyone hear me? Excellent. Yes, so I'm very excited to let everybody know about this. In our retooling efforts, we were able to make a couple of changes and had to make some expansions. So let me lift this thing up here. This is a Ender 3 Pro 3D printer. This is my personal one from home. but there are now 4 of these in the 3D printing lab to bolster our 3D capabilities for all our members. This is a very reliable machine. Those of you that have had difficulty leveling Prusas will find this a turnkey solution that is much easier to use and much more intuitive in memory. So those are in there as well. There are also 2 large format CR10 3D printers. If you want to Google those ahead of time to get an idea of the size of project you can make. Those are one of the largest consumer printers that's out there right now. And thanks to a donation just last week, we have 4 additional Ender 3, not Pro models, but I'll have them upgraded to Pros within a few months. So we have a total of 10 new 3D printers available in 3D printing to handle capacity, as well as our contract shop now has an SLA printer. And as we get more familiar with that and feel confident in training others how to use it, we'll have high definition SLA 3D printing available. It'll be a little different. The filament there is a little more expensive. It uses a resin gel. You'll need to purchase your own. You'll need to make special reservations for it, but it will be another option and expanded capabilities. So that's all I have. I'll take questions about that later. Next up, the fabulous Will Holman managed to secure us a line to purchase an additional laser, which will initially be for the contract shop, but expanded capacity in laser means our contract jobs will never take someone's availability of one of our standard Boss lasers away from you. So just more chances to expand. And then the last one for expanded is right before COVID-19 hit, we had just received new kits for the textile shops, new scissors, new seam rippers, new cloth tapes, which would be issued as kits from the front desk. So no one would ever have to worry about sharing scissors anymore when you came in and checked it out. These will be available, and this will be exceptionally important because in textiles, these kits like the scissors and seam rippers, which are not, it's not easy to use textiles and gloves. So these kits will need to be checked out and sent back to the front desk so that they can be UV sterilized. So textiles will have that added layer of protection as people are going through. That way, nobody is cross-contaminating fabrics, projects, things like that. But brand new scissors, nice and sharp textile scissors. I know everybody enjoys that. Next up is procedures. So as Will mentioned, we are classified as a gym as far as laws and regulations go. So we're going to have to start acting a little bit like one. And what this means is wiping down every machine you use afterwards, anywhere where you've made physical contact with it or could have breathed on it. We will have these sanitation materials available to you in all the shops. There'll be spray bottles, towels, cloths, and all we're going to ask is when you're done with a machine or you're walking away from a machine for a significant period of time, you please wipe it down, make sure it's clean. We want to reduce incidental contact between our members, and we just want to keep everybody as safe as possible. Next up is eye and ear protection. In order to make sure that these are sterilized and clean, all eye and ear protection will be gotten from the front desk, where it will be UV sterilized in between uses, so you can be sure you're getting a clean pair every time you pick it up. We will also have disposable earplugs available in the shops for people who do not feel comfortable sharing earmuffs with other members during this time of contagion. This is just additional stopgaps. Every little thing we can do to get in the way of transmission keeps everybody a little bit safer. So that's the procedures we have there. Next up, machine and shop reservations. These will, in logistics, work pretty much the same way they did before as far as how you will sign up for them, but they will be limited in capacity. In order to ensure that there's only so many people in each room, we will limit the number of offerings people can reserve per where that machine is in the building. So we're going to probably limit downstairs. This isn't finalized yet, so please do not quote me. And we will release full guidance as we have our full plan. But probably 4 people per shop downstairs at a maximum, and no more than 2 people per room upstairs, with the exception of 3D printing. Due to its size and air circulation, will be 1 person at a time. Now, I understand people might worry that a lot of people need a 3D print. we are going to move a number of 3D printers into the electronics room, and already have done so, near where the embroidery machine is. Oh, I forgot to mention the embroidery machine. I'll get to that in a second. So that we will still have 3D printing capacity, but we will have less people per room. And then to come to the embroidery machine, we are upgrading the Melco. The Melco was discovered during the break, during maintenance checkouts, that it needed to have a part replaced. We found that that part is actually the part that is upgraded to make the Melco the most current edition that they sell. So not only are we having the embroidery machine repaired to be at full capacity, it will be upgraded to be even more efficient and less prone to breakage. So that is very, very exciting. Melco has made a great deal for us in that. A local service member helped us get that. And one of our teachers who has purchased a Melco of their own led Melco to believe that giving us extra support will give them additional exposure. So a great deal all around. And I'm very, very, very grateful for Melco for recognizing the important services we offer. And then very last is a tech help desk. We are going to endeavor, and details fully to come later, make a remote terminal for people to contact our technicians to ask questions from home on their projects, whether they are looking for capacity of a tool we have in shop or want help possibly with a tool they have at home. Our techs will be available to assist if they can. So if they have knowledge that they can pass on, they will do so. If not, the very least they will do is point you in the right direction to find the resources you need. And this will be available through video chat or Zoom or some other channel, but we'll announce that fully, as well as coordinating with the Slack channel, as our technicians will probably not be sitting in the same room with members, but will be easily contactable and nearby, and that's just to reduce human-to-human contact. So we will have some way to flag them down, or they will operate, if you know, downstairs in my office with the double windows, they'll be there for you to get a hold of them, but they won't be in close proximity, just to reduce and maintain social distancing. So that's what I have as broad strokes. I'll be here for the Q&A at the end if anybody wants more specific details. And I'm going to pass it back to April, who will bring us to Laura with education.
Yep, Laura. Laura is going to give us an education update.
Am I unmuted for folk?
Yep.
Woo! Hi, everyone. I'm Laura. I'm the education manager. I feel like I know most of y'all, but it's really nice to be connected. Thanks again for April for putting this on. Pardon my slight lisp. I got braces, kind of. So here, it's my sound's probably fine. It's just my mouth. Anyway, so I run educational programming, and over the past couple of months, of course, we've had to halt in-person educational programming for various reasons, mandated and otherwise. And we're most likely not going to be resuming in-person education until the fall. But in its place, the past couple of months, I've been putting on between like 3 and 5 segments a week of Making in Place, online educational content for making at home. Now, some of it is geared towards multi-generational or all ages, and some of it's geared towards adults, but it's some way to keep kind of creative in your process. And so all of this is archived on YouTube, our YouTube channel, as well as our social media pages. And so there's about 40 segments there, so a lot of things to make. Everything from violet syrup to beer to DIY cocktail shakers at home to shadow boxes in theater, puppetry, and soap putty and pine. There's just so much there. So I hope that y'all have been enjoying that if you have looked into it, and if you haven't, especially if you have some tiny humans or people you want to make with that you're sheltering in place with, it's a great resource. The second tier is summer camp. And so we've officially canceled everything through June, but summer camp that was anticipated to happen in person in July is being suspended. And so in its place, we'll have a couple, maybe 3 different online versions of summer camp that'll be published next week or the week after. And so this will be 3 to 4 days a week of 1 hour live Mind Body or Zoom, probably Mind Body because it's the platform that we use for class registration. So, so groups of young people ages 8 through 15 can sit down and make. And so for those folks that register for these classes, we will have kits available for either pickup or we'll drop off. So that's really exciting. And then the third tier of educational programming that we're working on this summer is creating safety refresher tutorial videos. And so this will be a resource that everyone who's taken the safety class or anyone at all can say like, well, I haven't really been in the wood shop for 6 months. Like, do I need to take the class again? But I'm already checked off. This way you can watch the video and then get that internal kind of like, oh yeah, and then we'll have an affiliation with a quiz that you can take just to double check that you're ready. And so that's something that we're going to be working on producing over the next couple of months. So those are the main things for education right now. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much. April, Q&A.
Thank you, Laura. So I am looking at the chat and I do not see that there are a ton of questions here. Asher asked about our gym designation. How are you able to verify a business designation as a gym? And Will responded, it's based on our activities around education and shared use of equipment. There's no classification for makerspaces. We are not considered a manufacturing facility because all the people using the facility do not work for us. I'd like to open the floor for any other questions. I am going to unmute the group. And you can, or actually if anybody has a question, feel free to unmute yourself. I don't want to voluntarily unmute everyone and use my powers in that way. Yeah. And then after we do Q&A, if we want to hang out for a while, we'll leave this open so that folks can catch up and chat.
April,
Yes.
do you have any procedures in mind for the micro studios?
So we have, we are planning on putting sneeze guards between studio spaces. And for a certain amount of time, we haven't like figured out the specifics of this yet. This will roll out, more specifics will roll out with our next check-in. But we're thinking that the number of people will need to be limited to micro studio spaces. So this mainly affects group members that have multiple people working in a space at one time. It is not able to maintain physical distancing with some of the micro studio spaces. So, but we will be releasing sort of specifics about that.
Thank you.
I would just like to add on the micro studio piece, there's a couple unique things about our facility that make us very well suited to adapt to this new era. First off, we have a higher ventilation through rate than most office buildings, and the shops have a much higher ventilation rate than most office buildings, and that is generally agreed to be a good thing. So we're flushing kind of the building a lot more frequently than a typical building. Two, with the micro studios, when we kind of sat there and did the measurements, we realized you can safely socially distance in the way that they are set up now without any major changes. We are adding a 12 to 16 inch extension to the studio walls in order to make everyone feel safer. That should come up to most people's nose level in height. And then third, unlike a lot of co-working space, we're not asking people to share desks. Everyone already kind of has their own discrete personal space. So there's not going to be a huge need to go in and kind of wipe down every individual surface in the micro studio area per day. What we do ask is we will put a sanitation station in the kitchen area, and much like Riggs ask people to wipe down machines after they use them, if you're going to use the microwave or what have you, please give it a swipe where you had to touch it when you're done.
Hi, this is Umonja. I saw in the survey that you were asking about hours. Are you willing to open earlier, close later? Is that something that's actually being considered?
Well, when we release the full reopening plan, there will be truncated hours to start. We are taking a close look at the survey data, which shows some general trends about when people are looking to access the building. And since education is canceled, that changes some of the calculus about the hours as well. We have not finalized a final reopening schedule at this time.
Well, I don't have a question this afternoon, but I want to take the chance to say to Will and the team, congratulations on what you guys pulled together for the face mask production. That was great strategic thinking, super fast pivoting. And from the few times that I dropped by to pick up things, you were working so hard and doing Trojan work to respond to the emergency. So very well done. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jerry.
Jerry. We promised everyone else on the call we did not pay Jerry for that comment.
Jerry, if you could just meet me behind the building in a couple of hours, I'll have a check for you.
With your full PPE and, distance. And
Of course.
thank you.
All right. We have any other questions?
Well, this is Bob again. One general question. Is there anything we can do to help OpenWorks?
I would start by saying the biggest thing you can do is what you all have done, and that's stick by us and be part of this community. We're all going to get through this one together. And by being here and being willing to come back and just showing your support is huge for us. It lets us know that what we're doing and our mission is meaningful to people, and that keeps us going every day. For more specific aid, I'll leave that up to the other department heads that handle it. But the biggest thing you can do to help me and mine is just give us a little bit of patience when you come back. The technicians will be living in a new world, and just like we all will. So if they're not Johnny on the spot or they have to go look something up to make sure they're doing it the right and safe way, please just give them that extra second to figure it out. But again, just thank you for being with us.
Well said. Thanks, Riggs.
All right. Well, I think we've covered everything here that we wanted to share with you guys today. We're going to send out information about a follow-up meeting a little closer to, or another Zoom call a little closer to us reopening in a couple of weeks. And we'll also send out this recording will be up on our blog, and we'll make sure to drop all the links that were in the chat on that blog post. So if anybody wants to learn about the training offerings or look into the equipment that we've purchased that there are links for, that'll be there for you. This has been really awesome to see your guys' faces, even if in like a little Brady Bunch grid here. We really missed seeing you in person and can't wait to like, at least like social distance, like wave. Same physical space. I'll leave this up for a few, maybe like 10 more minutes. If you guys want to unmute and chat and check in with each other, would love for this to be a platform for that. And otherwise, we thank you again for taking time on a Saturday to be with us. And we can't wait to get back together.